Hi everybody, it's me Alura, and tonight I want to discuss with you a very controversial topic. And I usually always get sent these very controversial topics because a lot of people will not be willing to speak out on them. Everybody is so afraid of how they look in this world, it is just so ridiculous. They can't even be open enough to give good sound advice because they don't really know. They don't want to say the wrong thing. So usually they just either don't say anything at all or they give popular opinion. And with a subject such as this, and you'll see why I'm saying this in a minute, with a subject such as this, it is a very touchy subject. People don't really understand, right and wrong between what we're about to speak about. So I've had a lot of people write in asking me, what my insight was in regards to homosexuality. And this is a topic that really has to be talked about, and we have to touch base on it because there are so many people out there in this world suffering and struggling and feeling lost. And that is not good because everybody has the right to spiritual development, to acceptance, to self-love, and to feel worthy. But in this world, it's all about stereotyping, classifying, categorizing, and passing judgment. And everybody has this moral code that half of them don't even really follow, but they like to bring it up when they see somebody else not following through, because by pointing out somebody else's flaw, it makes them feel better. So when it comes to homosexuality, people have to stop looking at the surface. People have to start looking at the driver within the vehicle. This body is just a vehicle for the experience itself, and while there is gender, we know that, you have to look at who's inside. Consciousness doesn't have a gender. Now, we use the terms male and female energy only for the simple fact of describing the two parts of duality. So when source energy broke itself off into those two halves of energy colliding at the speed of light, they came up with those perceptions of more logical, intellectual, leadership, strength, and courageous energy to having nurturing, intuitive, loving, compassionate energy. And they would go through, all of the souls from those groups would go through their experiences in cosmos, in those perceptions to learn. What would be the point of going through every experience the same? Everybody is starting out on one side and then experiencing different things in life, obstacles, hardships, different life experiences, different people to learn the other. And the ultimate goal is to finally become balanced and ascended in both perceptions. That's what everybody is looking forward to. And that's why in Kabbalistic teachings, they are always using those two pillars, the pillars of Boaz. Because as you go through the tree of life, you're going to gravitate towards one side or the other, or you're going to be wise enough to go up the middle. So now we have a lot of souls that came from the Big Bang. That collision created all kinds of particles of all different sizes and vibrations stretching out into the universe, all of different perceptions, some male, some female, but again, not by gender. This is talking about perception only. They're actually androgynous. There is no gender. It is all just a way of viewing things, a way of processing information. Either you process information through the mind by figuring things out, by analyzing, or you process information through how you feel. And then there are some that are balanced, and mainly those are the angels that start out that way, because we have to have both. We have to be able to deal with people on their terms in every single way. But for the most part, the souls that do have the lesser vibrations that are going off into an experience itself, 5D, 4D, 3D, and so on, they're going to start out with one side. And then they're going to gravitate and grow towards the other to become enlightened. So when you think about homosexual people, you have to look at the scheme of things before you can even pass judgment in the context of a subject such as this. Because we know that some souls are more sensitive than others, and some more logical. And everybody, for the most part, there are some souls out there that actually get to be one gender the entire road, the entire journey of their lifetimes, because that's what they prefer, they feel more comfortable in. But there are some souls that actually choose to be a girl in one life, a boy in the next, and that's because they're trying to see what those both are like. They're learning from it. But let's say that a very sensitive soul, a female soul, or a soul that is more on the nurturing side, a soul that processes information through emotions, let's say that they have a lifetime as a woman, they meet their twin flame, they have that imprint of being with the twin flame for the rest of their life. They've met this man that loves them, that completes the other half of their heart. And then they incarnate into their next life as a male. So what if they were to meet their twin flame and that twin flame was still a male? Are they supposed to not come together in some kind of way or term? To just ignore the twin flame connection because they don't fit physically? Then they're not going to get the lessons that come with that relationship. And some people may say, well, if they were supposed to be together, they wouldn't have picked to both come back as a guy. Well, that's not necessarily true. See, people often confuse relationships as well. Sometimes your twin flame is there to be the friend and the support system in one life, or they're there to be the most passionate romantic lover that you've ever had in another. It's all about the supporting roles that the twin flames play. So if they come back both as a male, perhaps it's not meant to be a romantic relationship, but there is sensitivity, there is love, and there is companionship. That's something that can't be helped. So let's say, okay, that throughout history, stereotypes have always been something of a problem. So let's say that that one soul did come back as a male, and it being used to that very gentle, very compassionate, loving, sensitive type of energy. You know, they're used to being that way, and now they're that way as a male. And we know that people, they just do not accept anything. So we have people out there back in the past that would say that men had to be a certain way. Men had to be all about machoism, strength, being warrior-like. They had to be, you know, the types of people that didn't cry, or, you know, when they fell, they got right back up. That is the persona that's been imposed upon the male gender for eons. And then here you go with this male soul, this male that has this very sensitive soul that's incarnated within it, living in a time period of where they have to hide who they are. They have to go with the agenda of being macho when that's just not who they are. So it develops a level of trauma because they know if they be themselves, they're going to be outcasted. Who knows, there may be bullying and other hurt feelings along the way if they allow that sensitivity to shine through. And also they have the issue of meeting their twin flame, who is now also just like them physically. So this is a big ordeal spiritually for these people. They suffer with it, they struggle with it, and you know, it's been condemned by so many different religions because they're not looking at the spiritual aspect of it, which is surprising because as a religion, everything should be looked at from a spiritual approach. So like I said, who is to say that it is right or wrong for them to have that sensitivity towards one another, for them to share in wanting to be a support to one another, maybe so much so because they've been traumatized in their past lives of having to be a certain way to fit into society, that now they've found their twin flame who they can be nothing but themselves with. They're not going to pass up on that opportunity, and nor should they, because it's not about what's on the outside, it's about that soul that's driving the physical body. Now, while I do agree that it doesn't work for reproduction issues, you know, you're definitely not going to conceive a child that way, but you have to look at it from the spiritual aspect. I mean, these are souls. Who's to say whether they belong together or not, because nobody can really read the blueprints out there anyway. And there is no judgment that should be passed, because as long as somebody feels that connection to another spirit, that they feel that they can be themselves, to be happy and to be free finally at last with somebody that supports them in that, then I believe that the laws of the physical realm should be totally ignored, and that the laws of the universe and the spiritual realm should be applied. So everybody looks at things in a very ignorant type of view. Instead of seeing it spiritually, they see it materialistically. And because of that, you know, people are, you know, having levels of hate crimes, people judging them, people hiding who they really are, feeling like they're doing something wrong all the time, feeling like they're being condemned or judged, and that causes a lot of grief. These people go through life feeling like they don't even want to live anymore, and because of that, they're not getting the most out of their experience, they're not learning the things that they're meant to learn, and that's very, very prohibiting in the spiritual development process. So I think that if everybody could just try not to be so superficial and see things from that spiritual level, that, hey, it doesn't really matter about the body, it's about the soul. These are two souls. They obviously match one another. They support one another. And when they leave this body anyway, all they are is light. So what difference does it really make? As long as that soul gets the development that it needs, that it gets the fulfillment and the love and the acceptance that it needs to reach its spiritual development, that's all that should ever really matter. So that's my view on the matter, because in heaven, I certainly know that we're not looking at it, oh, well, that's a guy. We don't see things that way. We just know that this is a logical, stern energy, and we know that this spirit is a very emotional energy. We judge by the wavelengths and the vibrations, not by the appearances. And that's something that should be done here in this world. But unfortunately, we are in a physical plane, and there are laws of the physical plane, but that's the whole point of being ascended. When you're ascended and you're enlightened and you become reborn and you do transcend, then you're no longer a subject to the laws of the physical plane, because you're now living in spirit and you're living in truth. And once you live in spirit and truth, you don't see the things of the material levels anymore. You're seeing it from a spiritual way. And that gives you the ultimate truth. It helps you to see beyond stereotyping and judgment. So I think people need to be more supportive here. It is very, very important. I have spoken with many people that have this issue in their life that have come to me wanting to know, what is right or wrong. My family, they tell me, they say that their families don't, appreciate it. They don't want to be around them. They get kind of kicked to the curb. And they just feel so lost inside. And I think that for anybody to do that to another soul, they should be ashamed of themselves, because we are a spiritual family. We are all going to be together again someday. We're still all together here, connected through the Akasha. And we need to be supportive of one another, because when we're not, there's always going to be that little glitch in the Akasha that prohibits the greater shift from happening, because of that little bit of a negative vibration that's blocking the rest of it from heading that way. So let's move towards an ascension of Earth by embracing one another for who's on the inside of the physical vehicle rather than who's on the outside, and to be happy for those that have found support, no matter who they've found that support in. So love and light to you, and I will return with another interesting video, and hopefully we can cover a lot of ground when we're talking about levels of truth and in understanding things from the way that the Creator sees them, rather than what perception man is looking at things as. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I really appreciate the support. All of you that are subscribed already, thank you so much. I could not do this without you. I hope you enjoy my videos. There's so much more to come. I have so much to share with you all. My mission is coming towards the middle of the mission. There is a lot of time left, I think, to cover a lot of ground, but I want to make sure that I do so and that I don't miss anything. So see you all next video.